All right, so we are live, and while we're
Yeah.
waiting for Swarnendu, um,
Okay.
we're waiting for all the other guests to join as well.
Yep.
Let's wait. Let's just give it a couple of minutes,
Sure.
so that we'll join. Okay, so we have our guests as well. Hi, Roman. Welcome to our SaaS Success Strategy workshop. Hope you're doing good.
Roman, you are on mute.
All right, so while we wait for
Mhm.
Swanendu to join, let me introduce you, Satya. So, Satya is our product expert. He's been involved in end to end processes of our SaaS product development, like from concept to code, everything. Um, he not only gets involved in the process of execution, but he also has a vast team that he guides. So he has an extensive experience in building SaaS products. Um, so, Satya, would you want to introduce yourself further?
Yeah. So, as Shivani already explained, myself Satya, I have been with All Right Apps team for quite a long time. I have an experience more than 15 years as a product manager, and with All Right Apps, what we like to provide best solutions that will solve your transport problem as well as pickup, delivery, and everything. Yeah. Yeah, I think we have Sharnendu also with us.
Yeah. Hi, Swanendu. Finally, we have you. So,
Hey, hello
okay, so
everyone.
Yeah,
hi.
hi.
So, uh, Let me introduce Swanendu. So he's our CEO, co-founder of Innofied and All Right Apps, fondly known as Sean, and he is like the mastermind behind our like SaaS product, which is All Right Apps, and also he has built over 600 products, like SaaS products. So yeah, he's a genius there. Sunendu, would you want to extend the introduction, please?
Yeah, thank you so much, Shivani, for the wonderful introduction. Hello, everyone. As Shivani has mentioned, so I have been in the industry for the last 17 years, in which almost 12 to 15 years we have been developing a lot of products for different clients around the world. And a good number of those products are SaaS products. And some of these companies have become pretty big. Some of these become almost $100 million companies. Some of these companies are still afloat, they are doing good, and the rest of the companies have all failed. Okay, and that is what happens in the startup scenario. Whenever you know it very well that most of the product startups failed almost 80 to 90%. So that's what happened. We have built a lot of SaaS softwares. Over the time we have learned a lot about how to plan a SaaS software, how to build a SaaS software, how to launch a SaaS software. So it took us almost around 10 years for us to then have the courage to build our own SaaS product. And we were so confident that we are going to have uh, create a great SaaS product, only to find out after 1.5 years spending more than hundreds of thousands of dollars that the first version failed. Okay, and then we understood that building the SaaS product is one thing, and then running it is another, right? And then it took us a lot of time, a complete re-strategy, and everything, a complete different team, different technology stack, different architecture. I had to put everything aside, all sales and marketing, put my hands down in developing the code myself with the team. And then we are able to now launch the version 2.0, which is now a successful one, and a huge number of users are using it. So today we are going to have this workshop, and we wanted to have it more like a workshop so that we can interact with you to understand what you are doing, and if you have any questions when we discuss, when we present the strategies and the best practices that one is supposed to follow for planning a SaaS business, or building a SaaS software, or improving a SaaS software to the next level. So if you have any question, anything, in between, feel free to raise hands. Shivani, do you have an option to raise hands here? I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little different here. So you can just like put your questions in the chat or the comments, and I'll
Right.
bring it forward to the speakers.
Yeah, sounds perfect. So this workshop, we have kept it not very specific. We kept it more like a generic workshop, where we are going to specifically talk about the product journey. We're talking about the technical aspect, launching the product. We may not touch base the marketing and sales part a lot, unless if you have any questions around it, because as I mentioned, we have built so many SaaS softwares, uh, but then marketing, we didn't do so much marketing or sales. So building and launching SaaS product, making it a great software, that is what our expertise in. So with that, let's get started, and we can start with the next slide, Shivani.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So this is our agenda today, pretty simple, that what makes a great SaaS product, right? And then we are going to talk about what it takes to build a good SaaS product. What are the best practices to be followed? And yeah, Shivani, please go back to the agenda. Can I do that myself? I'm not sure. The first time we are using this platform. No. Yeah, so we are going to talk about the best practices and the project management processes. What type of processes are important? Okay, and as I mentioned, that one of our first version of the product failed, and a proper project management, a proper structure of how everything should be planned in terms of starting the project to ending the project, and continuously improving it. That plays a major role. So project management process is pretty important. And then, how to launch the SaaS product. What are the attributes, what are the strategies you are supposed to take when we launch a SaaS product. It is always like, there's not always a final launch. You are continuously launching in a different versions, different phases, right? So that is one of the aspects. And then we can talk a little bit about how to scale your product and business. Okay, and if once you are reaching there, once you are already generating some number of users and some revenues, maybe now we can talk about the scaling, how you can scale your product and business. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so what makes a great SaaS product? Okay, so one of the major part, that is where a lot of, we talk to at least 2 to 3 SaaS client on a daily basis. Okay, because that is our specialty. A lot of people come to us, and these people include, someone who just thought of an idea, think that probably that can be a good SaaS software. Some maybe have been thinking about building a good SaaS product for the last 6 months or 1 year, and they are not yet ready. They're not ready to build that, and at a point of time they put all the courage and reach out to us. And then there are some people who have already probably got the funding, or maybe they already gotten fund, yeah, got their own funds, from friends or family, or maybe got the investors who are giving them the initial pre-seed or seed fund to build the SaaS software. Now, solving real we always try to understand whenever we are talking to all these clients. The reason being, the failure in the SaaS market is very common. Okay, it is very common to fail. Okay, and that is the major aspect is, we think, once we are an entrepreneur, we are thinking, continuously thinking about an idea, we are often biased about it. Okay, and when we become biased about it, we want these features, we think that this is going to be a great software, right? But then real customer problems, probably we have already done certain research, but that is not enough. So whenever someone comes to us, we ask them that how did you do your, data analysis, how did you, what type of interviews have you done? Okay, and they often give an answer, hey, I have talked to a few people, and they say that this can be a great SaaS product. And most of the cases, this type of people are probably their colleagues or friends who are not their real customer, right? So us getting their go ahead is not something that will help you build a real customer, right? I mean, build your real SaaS product. So it is important for you to understand the real customer problems. You have to do enough research before you start reaching out to anyone, or even, get a team to start developing the software. And that is where most of the this type of people, this type of entrepreneurs who come, they create the first mistake here, where they have not done enough research about their real customers. So without understanding the challenges, without understanding what you're trying to build, it is often difficult, right? And there are certain type of clients who come to us saying that, hey, I want to just make a copy of this software. And that may make them think that, okay, this company is already doing a good job, okay, and they are already having so much business, so that means the customers are all out there. We know it very well. The customers are all out there. I'm just creating another product, and I'm going to make a better product than them. But that's not how it works, right? If you are having one company who is probably in the market for the last 5 years, even if they have a subpar product, and if you are trying to create something probably twice or thrice as good as that product, that doesn't mean that all those customers are going to trust you immediately, right? Even you are going to have a very hard time making any of their okay customers, not even happy customers, to bring to your platform. The reason being, they already have a market presence and a branding, and they have put good amount of effort in onboarding the team into this SaaS software, right? So that is one of the reasons. Solving real customer problems, understanding what is the real customer problem, and then having clarity, having clear documentation, clear data, maybe running through certain surveys. Okay, that is going to be very helpful before you start thinking about building the software. a lot of cases, and often we do it ourselves for the client, showing him that instead of we putting our effort in telling you how to or how we are going to build your SaaS product, we have a team and we have done the analysis for you. And you see, this analysis show that it is very difficult, it is going to be very difficult for you to be a successful SaaS product at this point of time. And a lot of cases the entrepreneurs accepted that because now the data shows it. Okay, so it is important, instead of building a failed SaaS product, we'd rather prefer to create a good one which will continue start giving us more business, and that creates a rather a much better relationship. Okay, with that, let's go to the next point. Now, clear value proposition. And I can tell you that all the SaaS companies, all the companies who come to us trying to build a SaaS product, right? Less than 5% of them come up with a clear vision and mission. Okay, when you ask them that, they say that, I have been thinking about this idea for the last 2 years. When you ask them that, what do you have as a document? Often they have probably a list of features, or maybe they have already hired a designer and designed the software. When you ask them that, what is your customer persona, right? What is your business vision, mission? What is the value proposition? They do not have it documented. That creates a lot of issues. Whatever in your head for 2 years, it is a jumbled thought, right? And that jumbled thought, if it is not clearly put across a clear documented way and then connected to the features, it is not going to work out. Everything, again, we have failed once. We have seen 90% of the SaaS softwares that we have built, they failed, not because the software failed, okay, because after building the software, they failed because of the other aspect, right? Maybe, there are marketing, sales, value proposition. There are so many aspects of there. The only thing that was working, obviously, the software, because that is where we have put time and they have put a lot of time with us to ensure that the software is the right software. After that, they failed, right? So it is important that you put a clear value proposition before you start building the software. Next one. Okay, now this may sound a little odd to have it as the third point, but if you look into the market, and we have enough data about it, that the user experience, when you look into the SaaS market, more than 40%, in terms of the priority, the customers are looking for a much simpler user experience, right? And we do not often understand. We think that we are all using a great product, we are all using so good softwares. We do not understand how important the user experience is. And we have felt it. We have, and even for our customers also, for our clients also, we have tried out different types of user experience to only understand that what type of experience a customer is, a user is expecting. For example, if there is when you're putting or integrating analytics softwares, okay, there's a product analytics software. When you put into a SaaS product, we we get the enough data, we get exact data to get an understanding of where the users are spending more time, what is becoming easy for them to understand, what is becoming difficult for them to understand. So that type of analytics, okay, the videos and everything, the recording shows us that how people are using it. And that's one of the reasons, if you look into the great SaaS softwares, if there is Slack or Basecamp or Jira, you see that they are continuously improving the user experience. Even if the software almost works in the same way, not much different, but their user experience is continuously changing because they are grabbing the data and analyzing the data. They have a good user experience team, and then accordingly they are making small changes. Okay, so it is not only SaaS, it is about any software that you are using. You're using Facebook, you're using Instagram, you see that how they are adding a little bit of changes in the user experience, in the design. Okay, and those are not sudden design changes, right? Those are very well crafted, based on data, they are making all these changes. Next one. Now, scalability and performance, this is something a lot of people do not think about when they start building a SaaS software. And the reason behind it is they think that it is good to build an MVP first, right? And when you are building an MVP, you do not need to bother about the scalability and performance, right? And this is something, this is a thought I have seen, more than 70% of the people who are coming to us, they have that. They said, let's not think so much about it, just give it to the developer, let them just build it. And then we ask a few questions. We ask them that, what is going to happen? Suppose if your MVP is failing, that is something, that is one particular answer. But if your MVP is successful, what are you going to do? Are you going to start building the software from scratch? And they say, no, we are going to build the software on the top of this MVP. And then we tell them that, but you have not considered the scalability and performance and the proper architecture, because you thought that this is, let's not think about it. Let's not put a few thousands dollar extra only because, this is an MVP. What is the point of spending more money? But scalability and performance are not the area where we should compromise. Okay, and this is a mistake a lot of people make. Okay, we are, any software you create, anything we create, just think of a building. When you are build, someone is meant, you know there's a building being created, and at the time you cannot have the base, weak, right? You have to have a solid foundation. The foundation is extremely important. After that, you build a one-story building or a seven-story building, it doesn't matter, right? But if the ground, your baseline, the foundation is weak, it is going to create a lot of challenge in the at later point of time. Okay, next, let's go to the next one. Support and onboarding, and this is something probably you have already seen a lot of softwares who have been, probably you have used some top softwares. You see how they spend a good amount of effort in making you welcome into the software. Any software, any SaaS software you use, most of the cases they have a lot of features, right? Very few softwares have a very specific small feature. So in the left hand side, probably you are seeing a menu with more than 10, 15 point items, right? And then we become so surprised, right? We become confused that, where to start. And that is where the onboarding comes in. Either you put an onboarding, someone is helping you onboarding to the product, or you are having a very clear, very structured onboarding inside your SaaS software, so that people who are using it in the initial first or second instance, they have a proper hand holding. They do not need to think about where that this is a complex software, because there are so many competition in the market. If they are not happy at the first glance, or the first or second attempt, they are going to just move on to the next competitor product. Okay, and at the initial stage when someone is researching about it, they do not put a lot of thought about if every feature is compatible in all these products. If they think it is easy to use, they just move on to the next one. Okay, with that, let's move to the next one. Any question, guys? Feel free to send your questions so that we can jump in. Okay, the sixth point is the data-driven decision making. This was not so much important even 6 7 years back, but now data-driven decision making is extremely important. The reason being, there are uh, with the rise of AI and how data can be utilized with so many different APIs, so many different analytics tools. If you are not looking into the data, and if you're just making decisions based on your assumptions or your team's assumptions, a lot of cases after spending, you are not ultimately just showing it to anyone, right? You are building that particular feature, right? And then you are launching it in the market. You have already spent so much time and money in building a particular feature, and then you may find out that, yeah, people are not using it, or maybe that is not what they wanted. So you should look into the data. So that's why there are so many different analytics tools. There are Mixpanel, there are so many different type of tools. Majorly we have used Mixpanel because it is such a versatile, such a great tool. It gives you data for every action of the user, and you get so much clarity that, this is what is happening, this is what the user is facing. That data is going to help you in making the decision. And nowadays, people are putting, after this data, they put an AI engine or AI agent in between, right? So all this data is fed to the AI agent, which will give you the decision. So you do not need to look into the data, and come up with the decision. The AI agent is going to analyze the data and going to give you the decision. And these things are already out there in the market. All you have to do when you are building the software, look into such a tool, just integrate it. These integrations are also doesn't take a lot of time. But once you integrate it, you are going to get a plethora of data that you haven't thought that it is possible to get. From the initial users till the product becomes pretty big, throughout the journey you have to collect data, you have to save data, you have to include those data points in your decision making, so that the next version that you launch, you already pretty much well ahead, that you know what your customers need. I hope this part is clear. Maybe we can come back to this at a later point of time, but we can move on to the next slide. Okay, now we are going to talk about the best practices of how to build a software as a service. Now, few things we always tell our clients to follow. Okay, and most of the cases we already know about it, but not necessarily all these practices are followed. And the challenges with that is, if some of these pointers are missed, these are so important. This, there are 7 points up there. Any of these pointers can create a break in the chain. Okay, so if you think of the 7 points more like a chain, one of the pointers you are weak, that may create a lot of issues throughout the process of launching the SaaS. So first of all, building an MVP before scaling. Now, building an MVP sounds pretty simple. Okay, now the major challenge we have seen our customers face is defining what they need in the MVP. Okay, so from our buyers, if you're thinking of building something, you will see as the owner, right? As more like the owner or the father of the idea, you feel like having all the features, and it becomes very difficult for you to just lose any of the features. Okay, so you may think of, okay, I have already thought about this 30% of the features for advanced, so we are not going to use those. Rest 70% are going to be in my MVP. But that's not how we should think about it. And that is one of the areas we get involved with the clients, and we tell them that, let us work together to define the MVP. Okay, because if we do not do it, MVP building will take a lot of time. It will become more like a complete first phase of the software, and often that is a one step closer to the failure. Okay, so what we plan in general, again, the way we discussed about that, we get all these data points, we do the customer service, and we try to grab as much as data possible from the competitor research, from the customer research, from the user research, from the surveys, and we see that what are the minimum features, absolutely minimum features with which we can launch. Okay, now this minimum features may look like, okay, this is only a set of 10 features, where I thought about 50 features. Why are you building giving me only 10 features? 10 features are more like a layer. Okay, if you look into it, as I mentioned about the foundation is pretty thick, and you have to do a huge amount of work there. Proper architecture, proper database, proper integrations are there. And then uh, building the SaaS foundation takes a good amount of time and cost. Okay, after that you can think, okay, it is everything is done. When you're talking about the SaaS foundation, what does it include? It includes, say, the complete user management, the role management, the subscription management. People do not think about it. Someone thinking about a finance software, they have a list of all the features they need in the finance software, but they are not considering everything else which makes it a SaaS product, right? So it is the foundation includes proper architecture. The foundation includes the user permissions. There's a roles and permission. There's a complete user management, subscription management, pricing management, packages management, and then there are the advanced searches are there. There are settings. There is an administration system via which the SaaS software is going to be managed. All these things together, it's a huge amount of work, and you are not, as a someone who is building the software, you're not supposed to skip any of that. You cannot skip any of that. You cannot have anything missed out there. The reason being, then it is not going to be a proper SaaS software. So after you have put so much effort in building that part, you may not have a lot of fund available to build all the 50 features, right? So now you just look into it, you think that, all I have to do is I have to start giving my idea out, and then let's see how many of these guys are coming up, signing up to the system. Maybe you are not able to give everything to them, but whatever you are giving, it is still a foundation of a solid software. So that is very important. The second part, embrace agile development. I'll not discuss a lot about it, but most of the projects nowadays, plus SaaS softwares, are following an agile development. Satyabrata is going to talk more about it in the later phase. Building for scalability is something we discussed as I was talking about it. Creating a clear architecture, a solid architecture is very important. And there are certain discussions around technology and all. I'll be coming back to that at a later point of time. But whatever we build, even it is an MVP or a solid SaaS software, it is important that we plan for the complete self-scalable software. Okay, so that we can start adding more stuff. So if you're building, suppose you're thinking of a SaaS software, and all you have thought about at creating it in a monolith big software, that is not how it is going to work out. You may need to create a few microservices which is going to be integrating with the system. If you do not plan for it, you are ultimately putting everything inside the single software, which is making it very tightly coupled. If you're making it a tightly coupled system, it is fine, right? It is fine as long as you are okay. If you're failing, that is fine, right? But if you're going at the later point of time, you may need to redo a lot of things. And one company I can tell you, is its name is Cordial. We have started working with them in 2014. Cordial is kind of an $100 million company. They are into e-commerce marketing. Now, when they started building the software, they have chosen, they have chosen us for a specific technology, and they have hired a pretty big team from us. And they had their complete founding team was very good at technology, so they were completely building everything by themselves, the backend part. Okay, and it is a PHP based system with I think Slim framework was there, very new framework at the time, and the front end was in Backbone JS. So at the time, Backbone JS was a pretty good framework. This React, Angular, this type of technologies were not there. So when they started building the software, we have built the software pretty solidly, because the founding team was very good. They kept on helping us, and it was a very collaborative product development. But as they started moving ahead, okay, they had to look into the technologies, and they had to keep on improving. They had to keep on changing it. Right, at a point of time, they had to move this Backbone JS to a completely new framework. Right, so they started using React, and then from the backend also it was done with basic PHP. Right, so they had to move to some other framework. They kept on using PHP. It is still a PHP based software, but you see how the layers are being changed. And the only reason they were able to change it because they have raised a huge amount of money. They have raised total $78 million as a VC funding. Right, so they have that type of backing to change technologies after technologies. It's not like that they have chosen wrong technologies or wrong architecture, but this is inevitable when you are building a SaaS software which is continuously used by people for a long time. You will see a lot of these technologies are getting obsolete, or maybe they are not the best technologies out there, and you have to change it. And that change is going to take a lot of time. Now, if you are not building for scalability, these changes are going to be nightmares. A lot of cases you will find out that it is near impossible to change it with the budget, with the timeline that you have. So thinking about the scalability is extremely important when you are planning for the software. Okay, fourth point, implement robust onboarding. We have already discussed about it. Nowadays, there's a huge number of softwares, tools are out there that you can automatically integrate with your SaaS, and that will give you a very nice onboarding process. If you do not have time, or if you do not want to do it yourself, you can go for this type of software, which will be another SaaS-based software, very easy to integrate. And once you integrate, there are certain level of settings and all. Okay, and it is, you are good with onboarding. And if that doesn't work, you can move to another tool. But most of the cases, building a complete onboarding process is difficult. It takes a lot of research, a lot of customer feedback. And if you are building a wrong onboarding process, it may take a lot of time for you to replace it with a new one. So it is a good practice to probably think of integrating an onboarding software just to see how it works. It is pretty, there are good softwares out there starting from $50 to I think $200, somewhere between per month, and that will do your initial onboarding job. But if you are not having onboarding, understand it, we become biased that our software is pretty easy to understand. That's not the case. Anyone first time using it, for them it is always something difficult. Okay, so it is important that you create a very strong and structured, very clean onboarding process. Okay, fifth point. So for any question, anything, guys, feel free to put in the comments. Okay, we'll be able to take.
Yeah,
Okay,
are
fifth
there any
point.
questions? If you have any questions, you can unmute and ask also, else we can proceed. All right, we can proceed,
I will.
Swami.
Yeah, right. I will. If there's no question. Yeah, the fifth point is leveraging integrations and ecosystem. Okay, now this is one of the most important aspect. A lot of people who were building software for the first time. Yes, hi Mehdi, you can write your question. So a lot of entrepreneurs or companies, they do not understand the value of integration or what are the possibilities of integrations, right? So when you are thinking of a SaaS software, we are thinking of building everything. But if we do real research, right, if the development team and the product team together, yeah, I think it is recorded, right, Shivani? Okay. Okay, I'll come to your question, Mehdi, after some time. So let me just finish up this one. So I was talking about the integrations and the ecosystem. Now you see, whenever we are working with all these companies, all these who are building this SaaS software, some of the cases, there are enterprises also, bigger companies who are already running business for a pretty long time. Now they want to build a SaaS software. Okay, and I was talking to one company yesterday. They were in the business for the last 16 years, providing pharmaceutical companies marketing services. And now they have seen that they have done so much, and they have seen that how their services are so much valued by their customers. They are thinking that now probably we can build a software via which some of these services can be given to them as a service in the software, and they can start generating recurring revenue. Okay, and they have already listed down what they can do about it. They are talking about that we are also going to integrate certain AI capabilities. So I was asking them, what AI are you using? They're using Perplexity AI. So all this different type of results this Perplexity AI is providing in the pharma sector, that they want to integrate into the software. So all these bigger companies who are already having a very solid business, now they are planning to build a software, right? And when they are planning to build the software, because they are not product companies, they are service companies or some other type of companies, they think that they have to probably build everything in the product. But that is never the case. Okay, it is very important if you look into your complete list of features, and if you just segregating that what are the specific areas probably we can just integrate with another software, that will reduce your time and cost and effort significantly. Okay, now two things are important here. Number one, you have to build the system in a very lightly coupled way. That means, when you're talking about the scalability, you have to build it more like there are smaller modules. All this modular pattern is followed. They are interacting with each other, right? It is not very tight, so that you can replace your planning of one module with one other software. That doesn't mean that you have to continue doing it. And a lot of cases when we tell this to our clients, they say that this company is pretty costly. I say, what is the cost? They say, they are charging, say, for 100 users they are charging $50. I am planning to have a million users software, it is going to be so much costly for you. I said that, you are not going to have million users at start, right? 90% SaaS companies fail, right? You are probably going to fail, right? So what is the point of spending the money right away building the module when you know that that specific module can be automatically integrated by another tool in the market, which can be via API integrated into the system, and then it just works, right? If you feel that this particular module is so much used by your customers, again the data driven point, if you are able to see that this specific module is so much loved by your customers, feel free to start using that module yourself and then replace it, right? But till then, what is the point of spending thousands of dollars building a module where you can just replace it with a $50 API, right? It makes so much sense. So that is one of the specific areas. If as a technology company, if we do not tell to our customers, they cannot make the decision. So we do our research and we tell them that this is the area we want to use this API, this is the area we want to use this specific API, here we are going to have this type of software. If we combine all of this, it may happen that you are spending $300 or $400 per month extra. But if you are trying to build it, it may become your 40,000 or 50,000 USD one time investment. Do not do that. Okay, so that is one of the specific area. And the second part is it is important for you to have all this integration. We talked about mix panel, right? So mix panel or analytics tool, a must have. Your crash or issue tracking softwares, that type of integrations are important. You may plan to use certain AI capabilities, right? So there are so many AI APIs. You have to start using one of the APIs. You may try to build that, okay, no, this is going to be my core strategy. What is the point of using one AI API where I can probably, take one of the, open source agents, right? Open source models, and then, say like TensorFlow, and then we can integrate that. You can do that. But the point is, again, building anything, even on the open source, takes a good amount of time, right? First integrate it, see if it is being used by your customers, then plan to replace it. You can then replace it with open source at a point of time. If you are already becoming big, you have to anyway build a custom module for this. And then sixth point is plan a phased launch strategy. Okay, so phased launch strategy is something Satya is going to discuss in detail at a later point of time. But whenever we are launching it, we have to have a very clear versioning information. Okay, so we know it, what should be there in one version 1.0, 1.1, 1.2. Maybe you haven't thought about something beyond it, but you will keep on coming up with ideas. Your customers, your users are going to continuously keep on giving you, asking you that, hey, I want this feature and you do not have this feature. So you have to discuss with your team, with your internal team, and find out, okay, maybe this feature is important, not that important to put it in your version 1.0. Maybe it can come in your version 1.3. So that means even for the next two versions, there are more priority items. But this phase launch strategy, if you plan, if you document well, will give you a lot of clarity at a later point of time. And you can always show your users that, hey, this is already planned. You can start subscribing for the software. Maybe another 6 months and you will start having these features working until the time our team is going to work on this and build it. Right? Okay, so these are a few best practices. One more point was there, which I forgot to add, uh, which is something we have already touched upon. It says that when you are planning the software, okay, you should think slow. Okay, so do not think very fast. You should think slow. Have a very clear plan. Okay, these plans, a clear documentation is very important. When you are starting to build it, then you make it very fast. You try to make it fast. There are agile process, there are sprints after sprints after sprints. If you do not put that pressure, if you do not make it a very fast process, your product may fail. But when you are thinking, when you are planning, strategizing, documenting, take time. Okay, do not go to a developer, do not start assembling a team. Okay, have your planning ready, then move to development. and that is kind of one of the cases we have seen, where there's a higher chances of surviving. With that, we'll move to the product management process, and Satrapati is going to take it from here. Satrapati, you have to
Yeah,
unmute. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you, Shanandu. So, so if we start discussing about the project management on the SaaS, so I can say that project management process is the backbone for any successful SaaS product development journey. So without having a strong framework to guide a team, even the best ideas can fail due to misaligned priorities and missed deadlines, also sometimes incapability. So there are a few points that I think we can go one by one. So the very first thing is that you need to have a very clear goal and a scope definition. So you have to have a clear goal and a proper vision when you are going for a product launch or going to start developing for a product, right? So any successful product start with a clear goal and a defined scope. In SaaS product development, it's very vital to know what you are building and why you are building it, and obviously what your target audience, key requirements, their pain points, etc. So what I always uh, like prefer to use your there are different tools, or use the smart mechanics to ensure your goal to objective and specify it with proper measurement as well. Document your project, definitely that's a very important thing. Also, having a clear understanding of your team size, the timeline and deliverables will help you to set your KPIs. That's a key performance indicators, right? Now, the second thing, I think it's all come under the agile development that Shanando earlier mentioned, and without for any SaaS development, successful one is the agile methodology are the best part. Like you can say the best tool. Okay, so So if I like to go for the agile methodologies are more than just a framework. It's a mindset that enables SaaS team to adopt with the market trend, the user requirement, and obviously with the sudden change. So there are few things that benefit we get benefits from SaaS. The very first thing that we get is the incremental development. Instead of waiting for a big release, SaaS enable the agile enable us to deliver incremental value to your product. Obviously, it will also enable us to adapt to the customer feedback, market shift in real time. There are also the benefit on the reducing of the risk while we are using the agile methodology. So we can break down any complex methodology into smaller tasks that will help us to estimate as well as risk analysis for that. So if I go into more details based on the screens that we have here, so the first thing is that we can do an iterative development. Agile focuses on small incremental updates rather than one with the massive release. Each we can distribute the entire vision with multiple sprints, and each sprint deliver a usable piece of product. This keeps customer engaged with frequent improvements and reduce the time to market. The second thing that is mentioned is the prioritizing on the backlog. So not every feature or task is equally urgent, right? Agile help us to prioritize the backlog based on impact and the urgency. For our all right apps also, we evaluate what we will provide the most value of our users right now and focus on delivering that. So we have like a roadmap for the next 1 or 2 years, but we always take feedback for our existing or the upcoming customers. We take feedback from our sales team also. What is the current trend? What is the market requirement right now? And based on that, we keep changing our scale, keep changing our next sprint. So this is one of the very important advantage having the agile methodology that enable us to prioritizing the backlog. The third thing is the collaboration. So Agile fosters collaboration between product managers, design team, development team, and also the QA team. A daily stand up or the sprint planning ensure alignment, transparency, and accountability across the board. It actually keep the team motivated towards the main goal. It helps us to align with the customer requirement. It helps us to deliver innovative and practical solution to the real pain points of the customers. The next important function of agile is the feedback loops. So continuous feedback is a very much important advantage of agile methodology. As I mentioned, it enables us for iterative development, so we can keep getting feedbacks after each release. So by incorporating that customers and stakeholders feedback after every sprint, we ensure the product evolves in a way that align with user alignment. Okay. So I think I covered overall all the points, but I would like to add some more benefits specific for the product. Is that it again enable us for a faster release. Agile ensures quick delivery for new features or update. It also help us to deliver a very high quality product, and it also help to improve the flexibility. As I mentioned, the customer can provide the feedback after every sprint. That enables us to do pivot a certain plan, and we can be more flexible to change certain feature or to add a certain feature that requires a minimum effort but add lots of value to the customer's part. And obviously that follows the customer satisfaction, because the regular updates and responsiveness to feedback shows users that their needs are a priority. Now, while we are discussing on the agile part, let me give you a small example of very recently we had a experience that while we were working in all right apps. So we generally do a 4 week sprint planning. So and we work towards it. Now during one sprint running, we come to a feedback from a customer that a certain feature is not working, and not it doesn't mean like not working the way we developed it. So so they had some like role based application, role based requirement in the project, and we developed them and we provided them also on in time. But while they started using it, they sometimes feel that it could have been improved. And while we worked with them, and we can also see the opportunity to improve this experience more. So what we did, we quickly modify our ongoing sprint, and we add that small time, small improvement as a feature, and we deliver that in that current sprint itself. So that helps them to like that like saves them their 2 hours for one operation to complete. So that's a huge addition in their business, and this is only possible because that sprint planning and the flexibility that we have added into the product as well as our process. Okay, so in order to sum up the agile part, agile process into mode, SaaS mode is start small, always start small, as Fernando mentioned, like begin with a single team or small vision. That will help you to check whether the product is sustainable or not in the market. Start with an MVP. Use tools, that is very important while you are using agile. Use tools. You can use Jira, Trello, or any other software that that enables you to manage your team properly. And a very important thing while working with agile is that it's a culture. So you need to cultivate that culture into your team, into the management, into the organization, and it takes time sometimes. But this culture is culture is for collaboration, transparency, and adaptability. And of course, the last is that there are lots of metrics available in the agile. You can use sprint velocity, cycle time, customer satisfaction to access your agile practices and refine them. Okay, so I think this is so far the agile uh, project management that you can be used. And with that, I think that's all for the agile project management process from my side. Yeah, yeah. Soren, do you want to add anything on to that?
No, Satyabhat, I think you have covered everything almost, guys. If you have any question, feel free to ask on the comment box. We will come back to
Yeah,
your questions. But in terms of the project management process, one a few things that we have learned, that we didn't do everything when you're building it for our customers, but when you're building it for ourselves, we have found out there are multiple areas that we have to keep on improving again. And these improvements are not something that we have just understood. We talked to the VPs, the the CTOs of top product companies around the world, okay, and asked for their feedback. Okay, and when we took some of their feedback, we understood that what are the processes we are supposed to do, and it is great to have some of these processes followed from start that makes the product better. One of the specific areas are like a test driven development cycle, right? So we didn't talk about the technology aspects here, but a test driven development cycle is very important whenever we are building any software. And then because we are talking about SaaS, it is very, very important in SaaS. So think of when you talked about the planning aspect of building a software, right? At one point of time, we have a process, we call it rapid concept workshop, that we do with our customers. And in this rapid concept workshop, we follow a set of processes, okay, that for creating the functional documentation, the technical analysis, technical documentation, finding out the integrations capabilities, what are the challenges are going to be there, what technologies or what open source capabilities can reduce those. If there are smaller POCs to be created, we do that. We try things out. But this workshop is a very rapid, as I mentioned, it's a rapid concept workshop, not supposed to make the process very long. Yet we have a very structured way of doing this analysis, so that next step when you go to the development, we do not have any gap. Okay, so we do this business analysis, product analysis, complete technical analysis, integration analysis, tech stack, all the tech stack analysis. We look into creating smaller POCs, smaller tests, then we create all these documentations, right? And then at a point of time, we go into sketching or wireframing the system. Right, so we create the sketches and wireframe, and a lot of iterative processes happen. Then it goes to the product design. When it goes to the product design, the designer now have everything. Okay, so he doesn't need to think of a complete. He's probably going to spend more time around understanding the UI design and the other aspect, but he got a plethora of documentation. Everything is there. Okay, nothing is in our head or our customers team's head that is not written down. So that is very, very important whenever you are going to that. Okay, so if you are having thinking of having an agile process, but you have missed out this planning, it will create issues at a later point of time. The second part is, as we discussed about the test driven development. Okay, so what we do is we look into all these features and we create all the test cases. Okay, when we create all these test cases, with this functional scope, now we create the stories and we put in Jira or similar type of project management software. Okay, so the QA knows what test cases are added. A developer, when he is going into development, he knows what he's supposed to develop from the functional documentation. He knows what is going to be the test case for this, what he's supposed to test. These things do not take a lot of time. People do not know, and they think that this is going to take a lot of time. This is the MVP. What is the point of thinking so much? It doesn't take a lot of time. It ultimately saves time and money. Whatever small, it is important that we follow our test driven development and into our agile process, so that uh, things become better at a later point of time. And we are not even talking about unit testing or integration testing type of stuff. Those are there at later point of time, but at least when you are starting, these things are supposed to be there. So with that, I think you got an idea about the project management process. Okay, there's a lot to cover. We may have a separate workshop on that. Here, we just wanted to touch base. Now we are going into the launching of the SaaS product. Okay, and then launching of the SaaS product. As it is said that, and in the most of the Silicon Valley soft companies do follow that. It is more like a continuous discovery or continuous development cycle, right? So you're continuously building smaller version, launching it, and then rebuilding it, getting feedback, rebuilding it, adding more features, making changes, launch the next version. But this process is very, very fast process. And why it is important to have such a fast process? Because if we do not have such a fast process, things will start lagging at a later point of time. Remember what we discussed: think slow, plan slow, but develop very fast. That is how the process should be. So the first part is in a soft launching or beta testing. Okay, once you know that your foundation is there, that means any user can now come, subscribe to one of the packages, and enter into the software. After they enter into the software, they may find only one feature or two features or even very less feature. But your foundation works. That means your SaaS is there, out there, it is working, right? You can tell the customer, you can tell the users, we have only two features. They are going to come and they're going to test only these two features. It is absolutely fine. Then someone coming, finding out, okay, the software has flaws or bugs. And if they are first time having an impression that this is a buggy software, it becomes extremely difficult for you to bring them back. And we have burnt our hands there. We got hundreds of customers for our first version, almost 90% churned. Okay, 10% trusted us that yeah, we'll be doing a good job in the version 2.0, and they stayed with us. Rest of them all churned. Not necessarily it was the buggy software that is the only reason, but there are other reasons, right? But it was a buggy software. Okay, so I'm sure that a good number of customers, they told us that they are leaving because there are better software, working softwares out there, maybe not as many features that we have, but those softwares work and ours didn't, right? So that's not a good feedback. I mean, it's a feedback, obviously useful feedback, but you do not want to be in front of the customers who is paying money, right? And it's not only money, it is also about their time, right? And they are running a business and they are trusting your software, and we are giving a buggy SaaS software. It never works. So thankfully, we are beyond that stage. So the second part, we discussed a lot about it. Leverage user behavior analytics. When you are launching it, you must have. There are tools like you can use Microsoft Clarity that will give you certainly. It is completely free. You can integrate it. You'll be able to see the complete snapshot of how users are using it. You can use Mixpanel, as we discussed. Mixpanel is a little difficult to integrate, but it will give you much minute data about the system. There are few more tools that you can integrate, which is specifically for the product analytics. Makes your life a lot easy. Okay, I mean, even if you're building any software, just see how easy they are to integrate. Only one line you have to add in the in your main file, and then it will automatically start collecting all the data. It will start sending you emails about all this data. uh, Worth a shot. You should always go for that. Okay, the next one. And the monitor early feature uses. Okay, now monitor early feature uses. With that, we'll come to the question that Mehdi has asked, right? So you can get an understanding of how people are using your features, right? And there are ways of doing it, as we discussed, that as you start getting all this data, you can get an understanding of how people are using your software, right? And feature usage is something you can do with a good onboarding process and a little bit gamification. Gamifications means you can tell them, and you have seen it probably, so many softwares do that. They tell us that you do this and it will add your onboarding percentage by 10% or 20%. And then once you are done that, you think, okay, I mean, then I have to do this so that I can get another 10% or 50%, right? It is not like that you yourself was thinking about going to finish up this feature, but because the onboarding tells you that you can do this and that will add a number to it, that becomes more like a psychological aspect, and we feel like, okay, let me finish it up, let me get my 100%. So monitoring early feature usage, onboarding data is going to be very useful. If you see someone has finished up the complete 100% onboarding, even if they are still at the same stage as another user who didn't finish it up, this person feels more accomplished. Okay, and he is going to spend more time in the software because you have given him some winning, and this is going to be very important. And this becomes easier when you are, there are smaller softwares, right? But when you, as Mehdi has asked, that what will be the ideal onboarding strategy for a SaaS enterprise software, things are difficult here. Enterprise softwares are a lot responsibility. A much bigger firm is coming into the software, right? So the training is not going to be only one type of user. An enterprise software is often used by different type of departments in the company. So you have to have probably a role based onboarding process. Okay, so you have to say that, this is for this type of role, these are the flow you follow. Okay, maybe there are certain steps you have defined. And what are these steps? These steps can be probably reading something, watching a video, going through a course. But now you can do it specifically for the project manager. Probably there is one type of onboarding. For the developer, for maybe the service, the executive, there is one type of onboarding. For an enterprise software, this type of role based onboarding is one of the ways of making it easy for them. Second part, we need to understand how early they are getting their first win. The difficulty about enterprise software is, whenever we choosing a SaaS product by ourselves, we have the complete decision making. In an enterprise software, the decision making is only on a few people, right, who are the decision maker. For the rest of the team, they have to use it, right? They are bound to use it. And if you do not make their life easy, they are going to avoid using it. And that happens all the time. And if when you're using an ERP system, a CRM system, we have difficulty making our team follow that. The reason being, if they find out this is difficult, they don't even come to us saying that, hey, this is difficult. They just avoid it. Okay, so those are very important aspect. Now with AI, you can do a lot of things. Like, what we did for All Right, we have created a very big, comprehensive knowledge-based documentation, pretty long. And then what we did, there's a tool, I forgot the name. You can integrate OpenAI to it, and you can give this tool, what we did is we have given this tool all our documentation, the complete product documentation. And with that, we have created a small chatbot. And now this chatbot, if it is still in an experimentation stage, but now if this chatbot, I can ask a question and it will give me an answer. It saves me from going through a knowledge base and look for the specific items, right? You can make it easy by just creating a very simple chatbot integrated with OpenAI or similar type of APIs. Just train it with your data, your videos, and it will start giving you wonderful answers. Makes your life so easy. Like Intercom and all, these products are already doing it. Intercom is a little costly if you want to achieve this feature, but you can do it yourself also. Okay, a few questions from Arvind. How do we identify risks and threats from our competitive analysis and plan our product roadmap? So one of the things that we discussed, Arvind, here, that competitors, the the risk or threats, it depends on the age of your competitor. What is the age of their software? How long people are using it, right? If there are companies who are already using their software for very long, it is very difficult to bring them to a new software. One of the major reasons is they do not want to put that effort into migrating your data into your software. So one thing you should do, and you should always mention it, if you're building a software or marketing it, you should tell that we'll be doing free migration. I mean, unless it is a very big enterprise software where you migration is very costly, you can say you can do free migration. Even for enterprise software also, you can tell them that we'll do free migration. That means you are telling them, I'm going to make your life easy. You do not need to do anything. We'll take your data, we'll make our system working for you. So this is going to be very useful in terms of risk or all the cases whenever we are building a software, we often look into our competitors. They provide so many features. It is difficult for you to probably come up with all these features yourself immediately, and there is always a chance that your competition is going to copy that. Okay, but this process is not that easy. Okay, when you are at the early stage, you may think that people are going to copy you, but what happens is that unless you become successful, you become big, people do not copy from you. Okay, even if you are building something great, they are not going to copy. Once you start becoming good, you cannot stop them copying. Okay, they are going to copy, but that doesn't mean that you do not have the early advantage, right? You already have been into the market with probably an unique feature, and you have marketed it well, right? So that is not going to be an issue. People are going to be very happy doing it. Okay, but you always have a chance of your feature is going to be copied. Okay, but it is not easy for the competitor also. Okay, because any new feature, either you have a free trial or you do not have a free trial. Maybe they are posing as a paid user, they are trying the software. They do not know how much effort and internal effort it took, how much work you have done, integrations and then planning and all, to make that feature working. Just copying it by seeing the functionality is not very easy. Okay, so only reason it may create a threat for you if you are very slow and you are giving your competitors so much time that they are launching it very well, and you are still you know uh, there at the back, you are not able to launch plan market it that well. That will become a risk for you. Other than that, it is fine. Okay, don't bother a lot about it. If you are being copied, that means you have become big. The second point, how are the KPIs set and what are the considered vital when setting them? See, this becomes very important at different stages of SaaS, right? When you are building it, you do not bother so much about it. There are so many different type of metrics, right? So there are MRR, ARR, there are NPS, there are churn rate, right? So few things you have to understand. Number one is how much monthly recurring revenue or annual recurring revenue you are getting. You have to look into your conversion rate, because that is how you are bringing getting your users. You need to know your customer acquisition cost, that is CAC. Right? This is very important, because otherwise you do not know where your money is going. You should know about your churn rate, right? And there are a few other things like lifetime value and all. Doesn't matter a lot when you are at the initial stage, but when you are at the later stage, all these informations are going to be important. One important aspect nowadays people are banking on is the NPS, net promoter score. Again, that is when you have a good number of users. NPS is like how many people are promoting your software, they are happy about it, and how many people are not happy about it. Both the percentage and the difference is your NPS score. And very good softwares have a very good NPS score, 100 or more than that. So that becomes one of the areas when you're building the SaaS. Don't think a lot about it, only focus on your conversion rate, your customer acquisition cost, and how much you are earning. Obviously the profitability is something you have to look into. What are the most essential factors to be considered when devising the pricing strategy and examples or case studies? So this is one area where you have to put a lot of effort. Okay, pricing is something we all are, this completely depends on the market scenario, what you are building. If you are in a competitive market, you have to look into your competitors' price. You have to see where your customers are going, how they are comparing your cost. Accordingly, you have to put a price. Most of the cases people say, and the industry says, that go for a usage based pricing, unless you need to really put it more like a seat based pricing. Other than that, you have to keep on experimenting. We also do that. Best way to get the best pricing strategy is keep on experimenting. But one thing happens to the starter SaaS entrepreneurs, the SaaS owners, they always put a price that is lesser than the what they are supposed to do. Okay, so do not fear about putting more price. What you can do is have always three packages at least, and you can be demanding in the last package. Okay, and then see that how people are utilizing that. Suggestions of books. You can, I think there are very less books on SaaS. There is a channel, Sastra, if you do not know about it. It's in LinkedIn, it's in YouTube, and there are great videos. Just follow it and go through the videos, and there are conferences. That will be enough. We learned the most from this channel. Everything. Okay. So I think all the questions are covered. From our point, I think we took a lot of time. This workshop took a lot longer, so we may not stretch it further. Any more questions you have? Otherwise, I think I can give it back to Shivani to wrap it up.
Yeah, so
And these are
Felix,
our emails.
yes, please, please go ahead. It's 1 minute.
Yeah, I was saying that these are our emails, mine and Satya brothers. Okay, so you can just take a note of it, and any question you have later, feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to help.
Yeah. So, any questions from anyone? Welcome, Dimesh. We are actually about to wrap up. The workshop is coming to the end. But like after the workshop, we'll be sharing the summary of what we discussed and the key takeaways. So hopefully that should help. And Felix, do you have any questions? We got questions from like the other participants, but we didn't get from you. Hmm, none here. Okay, thank you. All right, so you already have our email ID. So just feel free to drop any follow-up questions that you would have. If you would want us to conduct a workshop on any particular topic, please let me know, and I'll ensure that I arrange for it in the near future. And thank you so much, everyone, for your time. I hope you found the workshop helpful, and we look forward to seeing you and talking to you more in various contexts regarding SaaS and other product development aspects. So, yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you and
Thank you.
good night, everyone.
Good night. Have a great day, a great night wherever you are on the globe.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.